Digital Marketing Radio, episode 134. How do you choose the right social network for your business?
DigitalMarketingRadio.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Aweber. Build your email list, engage your subscribers, do email the right way. I've arranged a special deal for all Digital Marketing Radio listeners, and that's a 60-day free trial with the email marketing software provider I use, Aweber. Lock in your 60-day free trial, plus view a video that I've recorded on the 3 reasons why I use their service at aweber.com/DMR. So just go to aweber.com/DMR to get started today.
The big interview with David Bain.
I'm David Bain, and this is Digital Marketing Radio, weekly interviews with online marketing gurus. Catch up with all the previous episodes at digitalmarketingradio.com. I'm joined today by a 20-year digital marketing veteran, someone whose 6th book, Mindful Social Marketing, How Authenticity and Generosity Are Transforming Marketing, is set to be released in the near future. She's the founder and CEO of Tatu Digital Media. Welcome to DMR, Janet Fouts.
Thanks, David, very much.
It was the word I didn't practice beforehand that I tripped up on. You can find Janet over at janetfouts.com. So it's Janet, Fouts.com, isn't it, Janet?
It is.
Wonderful. Okay. So, Janet, how many social networks should a business be on?
You know, I don't think everybody needs to be on every single social media network. In fact, I don't think anybody can be. Even I'm not. You know, I'll sign up for all of them and I'll try them. And then I'll decide if they're valuable to me or not. And that's really the point, is where is your market? Who do you want to talk to, and where are they having conversations? Instead of everybody coming and telling you, you have to have Facebook. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have to have Twitter. Maybe you don't have to have Blab, though I think you need to have Blab.
So you decide if it's valuable or not. How do you actually determine if it's valuable or not?
You determine if it's valuable or not by whether people are having conversations there that you can relate to and that you can communicate with. If nobody's talking on the network that you've chosen about topics that you want to talk about, it's kind of pointless because you're a tree in the forest at that point. So you really want to think about, where are people talking about the things that I want to talk about, and what do they want to know? What do they want to hear? And then take a mindful approach to how you're going to have that conversation with them.
I reckon the line in terms of what's a social network and what isn't is probably blurring a little bit, because we're in Blab at the moment recording this live, and we've got a conversation, hopefully a little bit of a conversation going next to us. So is Blab a social network?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Blab is an amazing social network because beyond, we're having this podcast and it's a conversation with the two of us, but we also have the ability to have a conversation with the people that are watching, and they can have conversations amongst themselves. And then after the Blab, we may reach out to them and have conversations after that as well on other social networks. So I really think it's a very central point as a social media network.
Yeah, we've got MBTI in the chat saying be where your target audience is, and Synergy. Burgess CT saying Blab's a great Twitter leverage capability, re-social. And it's wonderful integrating these things together and actually getting people actually sharing it on Twitter while we're here on Blab. And that's real viral marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so cool what Blab has done for Twitter, because it allows us to have these deeper conversations, which has been one of the downsides of Twitter for many people, that, the conversations are short, they're staccato, a lot of people don't get it. Here they can carry on the conversation on that network and have really great engagement.
So are there any other shiny platforms you've got your eye on at the moment apart from Blab?
I think this is my big shiny. I had a little affair with Periscope for a while, but I got kind of bored with it because I really thought that it was a broadcasting tool rather than a conversation tool. Yeah. And I'm much more interested in conversation tools. For me, Twitter is my be-all, end-all network. I like Google+. I liked Google+. Ooh, but I really think that, because the conversations have changed there. I still use it. I still love it. But, Twitter's the one that I love the most. My favorite child.
I was I was going to ask you about Google Plus actually, because you actually wrote a book on Google Plus for Business.
I did.
But that obviously past tense means that you don't think Google Plus is as important as it used to be.
I kind of tell people not to get that book now because when I wrote it, it was 3 years ago, and it's really completely outdated. Google Plus changed and morphed and continuously changed so much that really getting a print book on it is kind of silly. Even though I wrote the stupid book.
I wrote a book. Don't get it. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, don't get that book. Get my new book. Don't get this book.
It's a tough genre you've actually chosen to write books about, isn't it? Because things change so quickly. Maybe you should change your career to something that doesn't change as quickly.
Well, most of what I do is blog and teach, so that's a lot more fun, and it gives me a lot of opportunities to really roll with the changes, which is what excites me about social media.
Got you. So with a platform like Blab, do you think that every business leader now needs to be on social media? Or is it still appropriate for some businesses just to rely on a social media manager to manage things on their behalf?
I think there's a lot of place for social media managers because after all, it's what they do and they know how best to reach a market if they understand the market. But it's very, very important that they have a very close relationship with the business itself and how they want to communicate, what they want to communicate, to be able to get content and have a contact there that they can talk to. I say that we are a social media management company, so I'm not going to diss them. But, I really think it's hugely important that there's communication there. And a lot of times there isn't. And just having some social media manager run all of your social completely in a vacuum, that's just stupid.
We've got Burgess CT asking a question in the chat saying, do you think Periscope could be the preview mechanism of your Blab? I suppose it could be that. It's a case of how many social platforms do you want to be on? What do you think of that one, Janet?
For me, Periscope is more of a lecture platform. It's easy enough. You get some chat going on Periscope, but for me, it's very hard to follow and talk at the same time. I find it easier on Blab, but I think you could certainly do, a preview show. Hey, here's what we're going to be talking about, and here's the subject matter, and let's get some ideas, and then take the ideas from the comments and bring it into the Blab conversation. That could be really fun.
Okay, right. I'd like to talk a little bit about content as well, the content type that seems to be working really well in terms of publishing it either on your blog or on social media now. What type of content do you like publishing on a regular basis and actually really see resonating with people on a social media network?
Well, for me as a teacher, all of my content is pretty much teaching people how to use tools, how networks work, different strategies that they can use. And so I'm really more about actionable items and how to use things than I am, social media is really great, you should do that. I mean, we've had enough of that, right?
Yeah.
I think people are pretty bored with that. So for me, it's more, okay, great. We understand that it's great, but how are we going to use it? What are we going to do with it? And I think that kind of content that people find really useful as opposed to dictatorial is maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's making businesses ensure that, or good businesses ensure that their products are fantastic, because good businesses are aware that their customers will start talking about what they do. And the not so good businesses will obviously have people talking about them in a negative way as well. So it should be a way to actually hopefully ensure that business is done better. Is that something that you teach businesses as well?
Yeah, we really do. We like to teach that you should be listening. Even if you decide that Twitter isn't the network for you, you should be listening on it. You should be using tools like BuzzSumo, for example, to really get into what people are saying about you, what they're talking about, what kind of issues they're having maybe with your product or your competitor's product that you can then build on. So using those kind of tools is what I call listening, but it's really, doing a lot of searches and finding out what are people engaging with, what do they care about, what are they talking about, and how does that apply to you? You can do that on any network, and you don't have to participate on the network to listen on the network.
So, listening, engagement, sharing great content. Is it possible to actually sell directly on social media as well, or is that
Oh,
not an ideal place to do that?
it's totally, there's a lot of information out there about how people are using social media, and in particular, Twitter and LinkedIn, as ways to connect with people and make sales. But it isn't about, here's my product, it's really great, you have to buy it. It's about, hey, I've got a really great product, it solves all of these problems, and how can I help you? And when you use that generosity and you really become a person to someone, then they're going to buy something from you. But they're not going to do it if all you're doing is hitting them over the head with your product. That's just not going to work for them.
Okay, so you subscribe to Gary Vaynerchuk's formula of jab, 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 right hook. Then after
I
that,
guess
perhaps.
so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I'm going to try this word again to see if I can pronounce it this time. So your book talks about authenticity and generosity, are the fact that they're actually transforming marketing. So what do you actually mean by that?
Well, I think that, right now with social media networks, we know who you are. You can't hide behind, an inauthentic brand persona, because sooner or later we're going to figure it out. And then we're going to out you, and it's going to be really ugly. So stop doing that. Just be who you are. I had a discussion the other day with someone who said, well, my voice is kind of edgy, and, I tend to be kind of snarky. Well, if that's who you are, then that's who you are. So be that person, so that when I meet you in our first sales negotiation or at a conference, I'm not shocked by what a jerk you are. I'm already used to that. And so, it's part of your persona. Let that be who it is. And if it feels inauthentic, it's much harder for us to connect and much harder for us to trust. And trust is everything, right? When we want to market to people or sell.
But I mean, what happens when you're doing social media for a large company, and that large company perhaps has its personality already there? Can you afford to actually inject your own personality into that, or do you need to actually be a bit more focused?
Sorry. You really can, but you need to, oh gosh, sorry.
That's okay.
Going on mute
No,
for a moment.
You do what you like to do there.
Okay.
I will reform the question in a second. I'll edit this out of the audio podcast, but for video listeners, for Blab Live listeners, it's a wonderful bonus.
Great questions in the messaging, though. Okay.
So
you want to rephrase?
I'll ask the question slightly. Okay. So if you work for a large company and you have an existing personality for the brand, is it right for you as an individual to inject your own personality into it? Or in that situation, do you need to adhere to a brand persona a bit more?
It really depends on if you are the persona for the company or not. If you are the CEO for the company, yeah, sure, put your personality in there. If you are a social media manager representing the company, then you need to absorb the corporate culture of the brand itself. What is their voice like? How do they adapt? How do they converse? And you need to be able to reflect that, because in the end, they're not going to do business with you. They're going to do business with the company. And you want people to understand what that means.
And I guess a good social manager would actually feed back what customers were saying and attempt to advise directors on a better direction with regards to brand voice.
Certainly. I mean, that's part of the job of a good social media manager, is to keep an eye on what's going on out there and how people are communicating and what their voice is. What is the voice of your customer? How do they communicate? And how can you adapt to fit that without being inauthentic?
Okay. Well, what's the future for the big social networks? Do you think that Twitter and Facebook are still going to be around, the Goliaths of social media, for years to come, or are they going to be surpassed for new networks that are up and coming?
I think these things come and they go. I really think that people are tired of changing networks every 5 minutes. And so they're less quick to adopt new networks unless they're really exceptional. So I think that people are going to be dropping networks and tightening up where they communicate and really going towards the ones that they gravitate towards, the ones that work for them. What everybody has a different way of communicating. Some people like to be on video. Some people don't want to be on video.
Yeah.
Some people like short staccato conversations. Some people like long form conversations. So it really depends on what's going to work for them and how they communicate best. And then they're going to gravitate towards that, and they're just going to forget about their other networks.
What if you're in a business where the majority of your customers are on a network where you don't personally love to communicate on? Is that just tough?
That is a big problem.
Yeah.
And you need to find somebody either within your organization or externally who does like that network. We work with people all the time that maybe they get Facebook, or maybe they get Twitter, or maybe they get LinkedIn, but they're not really good at all the networks. It's very rare for anybody to be really great at all the networks universally. Everybody has a different way of communicating. So you may have to have a couple of people that communicate on different platforms and agree about the messaging.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's segue into the second section of our discussion. So that focuses more on your thoughts on where digital marketing's been and where it's going. So starting off with...
software I couldn't live without.
So what software do you currently use in your own business that if someone took away from you, it would significantly impact your marketing success?
Fouts Social.
Wow, that was a quick reply there. Is that your absolutely go-to social media management platform for every type of business?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the tracking. I can get really amazing statistics and data out of Fouts Social that I can't get from my other tools in an aggregated form without spending tons of money, which is why I started with it in the first place. But then I kind of started using the tool more and more, and I've actually moved away from other similar tools like Hootsuite, and I stick with Fouts Social because it solves a lot of problems for us. And it's very easy to use. So I love that. And I also love BuzzSumo, which I mentioned earlier, as a social listening tool. It's super.
And is Fouts Social more for you as a kind of social media expert and consultant? Or is it also appropriate for, mid-level businesses? Or do you think, for most businesses, dealing natively on social media platforms is adequate for their needs?
Well, if you promise not to tell anybody, I will tell you this, that I use one account for Fouts Social, and my admins all have my login. So I don't spend for every single one of our accounts the entire thing. I compartmentalize because that's how we work best. And my admins have been with me for a very long time, so I trust them.
Great. Well, here's a slightly more challenging question, and that's what piece of software don't you use, but you've heard good things about and you intend to try at some point in the near future?
That is a harder question. There are quite a few there are very few tools that I haven't tried. I do the demos on everything. There's some of them that I really wanted to like Community, which is a Twitter community management tool. I just don't get it. I really don't need it. I tried it. I did the demo. I think I paid for a year and I'm not using it now. So, which is kind of typical. I try all the toys.
Okay, so that's a really tough question. That's floored you, that one.
It kind of has, yeah. Because if it comes up, somebody offers me a demo, or I'll go pay for it for a month and find out. Do I like this? Is it going to work for my clients? And if it doesn't, I'm not going to stick there. I'm just going to go back to the tools that I know work. Okay. Because I don't have time.
You're cutting edge. So I'll certainly include links to Fouts Social and BuzzSumo in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. But moving on to...
I wish I would have.
I'd like you to look back on the very first day that you're involved in trying to market a business online. What didn't you do so well? What do you wish that you would have done differently?
Oh, I wished that I would ask a lot more questions before I start. And I do this now. But I would ask a lot more questions about who it is they want to contact, who they want to talk to. I would do a lot more searches to determine, where are the people that we want to talk to? I don't think I did that very well in the beginning, although in the beginning, we didn't have a lot to choose from. It was pretty much forums and IRC. But even now with social media, I think that's the biggest mistake that people make, is just going with what they're familiar with instead of really planning things out in a mindful way.
Okay, just following their their instincts rather than actually doing some proper market research.
Not even following their instincts, following what their friends tell them they need. Because there's always somebody willing to give you advice about what social network's going to be good for you or how you need to market your business. You're the only one who should be making that decision.
So how do you go about making a decision like that now then?
I do a lot of searches. I do a lot of thinking about where the network is. A lot of it is really groundwork, finding out where people are having those conversations, what their voices are like, sitting down with the client and saying, okay, how do we want to talk about this? What kind of corporate voice is there? And really importantly, what kind of content do you have or can you create to share with this network so that we'll have something to talk about?
Right, okay. And what about advertising on social media? Are you actually a fan of doing that as well, or do you prefer to focus on organic, natural communication with whoever your followers are?
I think advertising helps you get a foot in the door. If your network doesn't know you're there, then they're not going to find you. So you have to find some way to communicate with them. I will do a lot of, have I said searches 1,000 times in the show? I will do a lot of searches and find people that I can share their information to attract them to the brand so that we don't have to do as many ads. But I will do ads to kick off an account. I will boost posts occasionally on Facebook in order to stay in the feeds and keep active in the feeds. But I'm not a big one for spending tons of money on advertising.
And are you still a big fan of Facebook pages, even though organic reach has gone down significantly?
You know, I think organic reach has gone down significantly, but we have accounts that are extremely viral and very active. And it's because they understand their networks and they really understand the people that they're talking to and they engage them. And so while some people say, you know, they're getting as low as 0.5% of engagement on a typical Facebook page, you know, we're seeing 10, even we saw 14% on one account.
Wow.
So it really is whether you're talking to people and you're keeping them engaged and, you know, you're being real and generous and authentic and all those things that, you know, I keep hammering are important.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously Facebook have an algorithm that it uses to actually decide how big a reach to give the content that is shared on your page. You mentioned, you know, interaction with users. Are there any key things that you need to be actually focusing on in terms of metrics to actually increase the likelihood that post will become a little bit more viral?
Well, if you take a look at the people who like your Facebook page, for example, go and look at their profiles. What do they like? What do they talk about? If they're talking about things in public, you're not really stalking them. You're trying to find out what their interests are. And then you can create content that caters to their interests instead of the things that you want to talk about. You know, there is no way that we will ever get over cute little kittens on Facebook. Everybody will share cute little kittens. Everybody will share quotes that are relevant to them. And so periodically working cute little kittens and quotes into your Facebook page, this is my big tip of the day, will actually get you more engagement on your page. If you don't keep them engaged, Facebook thinks you're boring and they never see you again until you boost.
I thought your big tip of the day was actually look at profiles and see what people like and write content based on that. I thought that was a wonderful one.
See, I'm just a font of great tips. That's
absolutely, and they'll keep on coming, I'm sure.
The this or that round.
So this is the quick response round. 10 quick questions. Just 2 rules here. Try not to think about the answer too much, and you're only allowed to say the word both on one occasion. Ready to go?
Yes.
Email or Twitter?
Twitter.
Audio or video?
Ooh, I'm going to use my both.
Early doors for that. Affiliates or display advertising?
Can I say neither? Display.
Okay. Facebook or Google Plus?
Google Plus.
Wow.
She said tentatively.
Online press releases or one-on-one relations?
One-on-one relations.
Paid search or SEO?
Social SEO.
Email contact form or telephone number?
Oh, email.
website or app?
Website.
Social subscriber or email subscriber?
Email subscriber.
And local marketing or global marketing?
I can't say both, can I? I guess I'll have to say global.
I was thinking that you were definitively going to say Facebook rather than Google Plus, but it was the other way around there.
Really?
So,
I hate Facebook. I hate Facebook on so many levels. As a personal network, it's great. You get to talk to your friends and your family across the country. Great, wonderful. And I have a lot of social media friends that, I connect with on a regular basis. But as a network to do business on, it's horrible. It's horrible.
And is it going to get any better, or is it still going to be horrible in the future?
I think it's still going to be horrible in the future. I think people will migrate away from it. I don't know where they're going to go because it doesn't look like it's going to be Google Plus, but we'll have to figure something out.
Well, Google Plus tried to revamp their platform with communities recently, but we'll wait with bated breath to see if that has any impact over the coming few months. I'm not sure that the general public are going to, jump towards it. It's mainly just going to be niche groups, isn't it?
Well, and you know what? That's okay, because it really does have a lot of engagement within those groups. And I'm in quite a few groups. And the engagement's very good and the format's very good. It's just not public, so nobody knows it's happening, so everybody thinks it's dead.
And I said paid search or SEO, and you said social SEO. Mm-hmm. What does social SEO look like?
I think social SEO is really working not necessarily the keywords, but the key phrases that you're interested in sending to your website into your social networks, because social drives a lot of traffic. Even if we don't always see how much traffic it is, it drives a lot of traffic. So social SEO has more importance to me than the traditional SEO that we used to do, keyword stuffing and trying to put invisible text on the page and all of those things that we used to do. I didn't used to do that, of course. But, the traditional SEO isn't as effective if it isn't supported by social.
That
was a long answer.
I like modern SEO because that incorporates signals, and it also incorporates user experience. And I still like SEO, and I get a bit defensive about SEO because I've been involved with SEO.
Everybody who likes SEO gets a bit defensive about SEO.
Maybe we should just move on.
The $10,000 question.
Sorry, I missed that one.
We could have a fight on Blab. That's what we do on Blab.
We'll have a prop fight, yes. No, yeah. I'm sure you're winning that one. Yeah.
Oh, wait, here, I'm kidding.
So if I was to give you $10,000 and you had to spend over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure success?
I would probably spend it on search tools. Maybe I'd spend it on SEO, but probably search tools.
Search tools. Sorry, define search tools a little bit more.
Tools like BuzzSumo, for example. There are a lot of very advanced search tools that, because of my business level with mid-level businesses, I can't afford the expensive toys. So I'd probably spend it on the expensive toys, get as much data as I could, and then run with it.
There's some lovely, inexpensive tools out there. I think a lot of so-called enterprise level tools try and position themselves as actually offering absolutely everything to the enterprise level, but it's not as good as actually putting all these little tools together and really knowing what's happening behind the scenes, in my humble opinion.
Isn't that mega dashboard just kind of like the holy grail that we've always thought we wanted, but then you get it? Because I work with some Fortune 500 companies too, and I see that they get them and they don't know what to do with them. So, like I said, I do a lot of search. I'd get all the toys and I'd take my bag and go home.
Absolutely. And then it needs 5 consultants to actually get it implemented in the business. And then so many people in the organization understand how it works. And then those people leave, and then people are left with this bit of software that no one knows how it actually works.
And then they talk about the poor guy that came up with the idea to go get the data because he's long gone and nobody knows what to do with it. And they paid for it.
Yeah. And they just see it as $100,000 in there. Anyway, yes. Moving on to
my number one takeaway.
So, Janet, you've offered a lot of great advice in the conversation, but what's the number one takeaway? What's the single most important step that our listeners need to take away and implement within their own businesses?
Listen, 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 and then listen some more, because we really need to be paying attention more to what our customer wants than what we want to tell them.
Listen, 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 right hook. That would be a good book, wouldn't it?
Call Gary Vee.
Well, I reckon that takes us to the end of our discussion today. So thank you so much for your time and your advice. What's the best way for our audience to find out more about you and what you do?
You can find me at janetfouts.com. That's my email address, or my website, janetfouts.com, or my book's website, which is mindfulsocialmarketing.com.
Great stuff. Well, thanks to Janet, and also thanks to you, dear listener, too. If you enjoyed what Janet shared today, here's how you can help. Go and get your friend's iPhone, go to the podcast app, and search for Digital Marketing Radio. Click on the show, and then hit the subscribe button, and make them listen too. And finally, I'm also hosting another live show every Friday called This Week in Organic. So head over to thisweekinorganic.com to find out more about that. But that's all for now. Until we meet again, adios. And thanks so much, Janet. Great discussion. Thanks for joining me.
Great to be here. Thank you.